So welcome back to another rebuild here on NBA 2K25 Next Gen. In today's video, we are back with another episode of our Rebuild Challenge series, and today it's going to be the No 90s rebuild. Now, this is a challenge I have certainly done in years past. I want to give a big thank you to all of you who recently suggested I do this. I was actually surprised looking back on the playlist that I had yet to do this one. So it's relatively self-explanatory. We're going to go ahead and do a fantasy draft from there. The goal is to build the best team possible. Of course, the end goal would be winning a championship. And throughout that process, nobody on this team, nobody in this 10-man rotation is allowed to be a 90 overall or higher. I'll explain a few more rules that I do have once we get into the video, but first and foremost, as always, let me know any other video ideas down below in the comment section. I am excited to be back doing these rebuild challenges. I know we had missed the last couple of weeks. I know many of you do really enjoy these, so I appreciate all the feedback and all of the suggestions you guys have been giving me. But excited for this one today. If I'm remembering correctly, it gets a little bit more frustrating than I'm initially anticipating, so let's go ahead and get into it. Of course, we now find ourselves here in the team selection screen. We're going to go ahead and make 3 draft picks pretty much as we always do. I guess this is one of those situations where I almost don't hope I have one of the higher picks. I'm hoping I'm picking in like the mid to late 20s because adding any sort of superstar to this team that's a 90 plus overall is about as useless as it actually gets. So as always, we will close our eyes, randomly scroll through these teams, stop at some point just so nobody thinks there's any cheating going on around here, and we'll stop right about now. We're going to end up with the Los Angeles Clippers today. I am hoping we do not have a very good pick because, of course, we won't be able to draft anybody that's a superstar. Okay, immediately we are at the 16th overall pick. Of course, all of the top players that are sitting here on the board today are all going to be 90-plus overalls. Now, a couple things to note. Of course, for some of these guys, we're going to see some regression. Now, if Kevin Durant, say, is an 89 overall by the time we get to year 3, I can certainly make a trade for him. That being said, I, of course, cannot draft him right now because he is a 93 overall. So let's just take a look at the list of players that I can technically draft. So I can draft Bam Adebayo and anybody down. So something else I want to note. Obviously, if you guys watch my rebuilds, you are very familiar with the fact that I tend to move around positions a lot. I am not allowed to move around positions today to the point where it makes a player a lower overall. So if I move Bam hypothetically to like a point guard, of course, he's going to jump down a ton in the overall department. I can move him maybe to the center spot. Maybe he jumps up to a 90. I can move positions if the player's overall goes up. If they stay the same or go down. Actually, I technically can do it if they stay the same. But if they go down, no, off the table. All right, from this point on, I am going to have to make a tough decision because we know that a lot of these guys, especially the guys that are in their younger to kind of mid-20s, we know how their development's going to go. They're going to become 90s at some point throughout this video, and I, of course, have to kind of take that and understand that it's certainly a possibility as things do progress. So I know Maxey will get there. Somebody like Domantas Sabonis kind of jumping out at me. I almost know for a fact that he doesn't really ever get to a 90 and is probably one of the better options here. Now, of course, another option would be going ahead and drafting somebody, you know, is relatively young like Chet Holmgren. But again, we're going to know he's going to hit a 90. So I'm thinking the first player I'm going to draft today is going to be Domantas Sabonis. He's 28 years old, and from memory, you know, I play this game quite a bit, he tends to not get into that 90 level. I think he actually starts to regress by the time year 2 or year 3 rolls around. So Sabonis is going to be my first player I take today. Again, we're going to only make 3 picks ourselves from there. We, of course, we'll let the CPU do the rest of it. All right, so anybody who's on the board technically now is kind of fair game. I can take any single one of these players. Of course, again, kind of trying to vision who is the correct pick because, of course, a lot of these guys will be moving up in the overall department. So from here, a guy like Brandon Ingram could make a lot of sense for us. Of course, a guy who could score the ball at an elite level. De'Aaron Fox could be a really solid point guard option, kind of bring back that Fox and Sabonis duo from their days in Sacramento together. I think one of those guys probably makes the most sense. Crazy enough, I just did a Hawks rebuild. I think it actually took till year 3 technically, which would have been year 4 in one of these rebuilds, but Daniels does get to a 90. Scotty Barnes also could be a lot of fun. He actually might get close to a 90 though. All right, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take De'Aaron Fox, solidify my point guard spot. Don't think he should be jumping up 4 overalls throughout this video. And then we're going to go ahead and make one final pick here. Whether or not that's, you know, one of these veteran players like a Gobert or Holiday, probably off the board there, but I think there are certainly some other options here that could entice me. I'm thinking that we maybe go for a guy like Trey Murphy III, who, of course, is relatively young at 24 years old, will move up in the overall department, but will not move up to the point where it's actually going to seriously hurt us. So, of course, there's some other players here. Ooh, Reza Shea could make some sense. I did just have him in the Hawks rebuild the other day, but I don't think he gets to a 90. I'm going to take Reza Shea because I know he's going to be a higher overall than Trey Murphy. I do. I'm not getting into a pissing contest about who's a better player, but you understand my point. All right, we're going to sim the rest of this. I'll see you guys with this full team. Let's dive in, take a look at this full squad together. Of course, we made the first 3 picks in the draft. The CPU went ahead and made the rest of them. So we, of course, drafted 3 players. That was Domantas Sabonis, De'Aaron Fox, Zachary Riza-Shea. 2K also went ahead and selected Cam Johnson. You got Bogdanovic here, Trey Mann, Chris Boucher, Jalen Wells, Luke Kennard, Georges Niang, Taylor Hendricks, Alec Burks, Monte Morris, Paul Reed. Okay, the good news is that I can almost tell immediately. The CPU did not draft me any, rookie, second-year player, some 20-year-old that is going to get to the 90 overall department, because there are a few of them that could have possibly been there that very well could get into that category. So at this point, we are all set. We are 100% solidified at this point. We are good to go in terms of simulating. That being said, I do think there's maybe 1 or 2 moves I want to make before we kick off year 1, because, even if we're not competing or contending really in year 1, my goal obviously remains the same. I am trying to win a championship eventually, so I got to set myself up for some success. Let's go ahead and make some moves. First trade of today's video is going to come with the Houston Rockets. We are sending Luke Kennard and Monte Morris over to Houston. In return, we're going to be getting Isaiah Joe and a first-round draft pick in 2027. Quite honestly, I have no idea why Houston wants to or is willing to do this trade, but I am certainly going to go ahead and say thank you with a smile, and I'm going to go ahead and put this deal through. So Isaiah Joe, obviously pushing an 80 overall, is on a multi-year contract, could be here the entire video, and would honestly be a really elite 6th or 7th man option, along with the first-round draft pick. So yeah, that kind of felt like highway robbery, but thank you very much, Houston. Next trade up's going to come with the Philadelphia 76ers. Chris Boucher and Alex Burks are being dealt, and in return, we're getting ourselves Goga Bitadze and AJ Lawson. Now, of course, adding Goga to this team, same exact overall as Boucher, but of course, he is 6 years younger and has multiple years on that contract. So at this point, what I'm really trying to do is get rid of all of the one-year deals. Not that I'm not saying I wouldn't have re-signed these players, because it's certainly a possibility, but adding multiple years of team control, I think, has been really beneficial throughout these rebuild challenges. So solidifying that's a really big win in my opinion. And again, not giving up any draft picks also really helps out quite a bit. And then in what will likely be our final trade before we kick off year 1, we're going to deal Paul Reed to the Atlanta Hawks for a future first-round draft pick. At this point, Paul Reed was not going to be in the rotation and was an expiring contract. Now, he is only 25 years old. Certainly a possibility we could have kept him on this team past this season, but ultimately Goga's on a multiple-year deal. Of course, Sabonis is already here. I'd rather have the first-round pick, I think. So thank you very much, Atlanta. That is going to end up being our final deal. Let's go ahead and set this rotation. Few trades have been made, and I think we've set ourselves up well for some success. Now, are we going to be winning a championship in year 1? My guess is probably not, but I think we've done a really good job of establishing a multiple-year roster and a lot of flexibility moving forward. Now, De'Aaron Fox, Bogdanovic is going to be my backcourt. I considered a couple different deals for Bogey, but ultimately decided I didn't really need to force the issue. He is on a multiple-year contract, so of course we can reassess in the offseason if necessary. Riza-Shea will be my starting small forward. Of course, Cam Johnson here next to him, and then finally Domantas Sabonis rounding out this starting 5. Bench unit is actually really, really elite right off the rip. You got Trey Mann here as my 6th man. He, of course, will be backing up Fox. Isaiah Joe here backing up Bogdanovic. Goga Bitadze will be the backup center. Jalen Wells, who I still kind of can't believe we just got. I'm not sure exactly what round he was selected in, because the CPU did draft him, but feels like really good value or whatever we did. And then finally, I decided to give Taylor Hendricks the nod over Georges Niang. This is really just kind of a youth and a future kind of potential thing. Maybe Niang's the better player at this point in time, but with the only 1 overall difference, I'm going to take the guy who's significantly younger with probably a lot more upside, playing 10 minutes a night. So, of course, we have Ty Lue as our head coach as well. Really strong option there. And at this point, I think the sky's kind of the limit. Again, I don't know if we're going to be competing in a serious aspect in year 1, but the blueprint is set. Hopefully we are, a strong team. I'd like to be in the playoffs, and yeah, I'll see you guys at the end of year 1. We were as mid as we possibly could have been. You guessed it, 41 and 41 on the dot. Now, it is a fantasy draft. Of course, I've said this before. You're all very much aware, but the league tends to balance out a little bit. That's how it would work. So I'm probably going to, think we're in the playoffs. Now, I don't know if that's a fact, but we'll find out together. Luka Doncic is a Chicago Bull. He is your MVP. Stephon Castle, member of the Cleveland Cavaliers, takes home Rookie of the Year. Dante DiVincenzo coming off the bench in LA wins 6th man. Wemby in New Orleans is your depoy. Men Thompson, most improved. Steph Curry, the Atlanta Hawk, clutch player of the year. And Steve Kerr, still hitting that same pose, coach of the year. All right, let's check the standings, see where we are. We are actually in the play-in, so 41 wins, play-in, feels like a pretty fair territory here. We are going to have to face the Oklahoma City Thunder, and then we will face the loser of Denver versus New Orleans for a shot at the 8th seed. All right, let's go ahead and talk about some of the numbers for this team. De'Aaron Fox was pretty damn good, about 20 points a game. Zachary Riza-Shea, Domantas Sabonis, Bogdanovic, Cam Johnson. Something that's jumping out at me immediately is that we're not really hurting in the scoring department. And I feel like a lot of the videos and a lot of the time that my teams aren't super successful is because I'm hurting in the scoring department. Now, also it's becoming more and more obvious that maybe we are hurting a bit in the defense department. Rebounds led by Sabonis and assists also led by Sabonis. Now, I don't often look at team stats typically because I don't know. I don't really think they tend to matter too much, but I will just take a look because I am curious. Now, in terms of scoring, points per game, actually, we were really bad. We were 4th worst in the league in terms of points per game. So I was wrong on that part. I guess we did not score nearly as much as I thought we did. And then points allowed, looks like we were actually near the best. Okay, I completely got that wrong. I did not think that was the case, but I guess we need more offense. Did not think that was going to be a possibility. All right, it is us and the Oklahoma City Thunder. They have Damian Lillard, Jaden Ivey, Norman Powell, Jonathan Kuminga, Naz Reid. Pretty solid squad. I'll give them that. We lose this, we're out, so we are actually winning. And now if we beat Denver, we will be the 8th seed. So insane backcourt that is in real life in Cleveland here with Garland and Mitchell, Ryan Dunn, Bobby Portis, Derek Lively, Khalil Ware. Really good team right there, and we lose. So we are going to be in the draft lottery, which all things considered is probably for the best. I don't think this team is winning a championship. That's funny. Anthony Davis ends up member of the Dallas Mavericks and Luka Doncic. Oh, man. This game is just funny sometimes. Dallas wins it all, 80 Finals MVP. I didn't even realize that Luka and the Bulls weren't even in the finals. Interesting. Nonetheless, we're going to head into offseason number 1. We are, at this point in time, going to have to decide what we want to do with the core of this team. I mean, there's not going to be any major trades, most likely. Of course, we are going to have to be kind of careful with who we trade for, but I think we're in a pretty good spot. So, 13th overall pick, solid selection. I'm going to hang on to Ty Lue. I do think he's an elite head coach in this league. Let's approach the 2025 draft. We, of course, have multiple multi-year contracts. We have 2 second-round picks this year. And at this point, I may consider a trade, but again, certainly not going to force the issue quite yet. Small trade here. I actually tried to make a couple bigger deals. I tried to acquire Derek White and Desmond Bane. Well, not both of them. It would have been one or the other, but unfortunately, it just did not happen. So instead, we're going to draft somebody at number 13 overall. We're going to trade for 2 future seconds. Of course, seconds in this game are relatively useless unless you're including them in a deal. So we're going to draft somebody here. Kaspers is a guy I've drafted in the past and actually is going to be my pick right here as well. Jack Unas, I'm horrible with last names. It's just my apologies. He's a 76 overall. Hendricks and Lawson will both be brought back. If for nothing, it'll be maybe trade pieces. Trey Mann, certainly somebody I'd be looking to extend. And then at this point, I know we don't have any cap space. It's really going to be about finding an upgrade, whether it's at the shooting guard spot, the power forward spot. All things are kind of on the table at this point. So I am definitely going to find said trade, and obviously I'll show you guys once I do. I'm taking another run at the Derek White deal. I didn't show you guys before because it obviously didn't happen. I think Derek White would be an elite addition to this team. Obviously, we are hurting defensively. Derek White is one of the best defensive guards in all of basketball, and I do think he'd be a major upgrade in this starting 5. Now, ultimately, he is pushing a 90 overall. The good news is I don't think he's going to get there. In my experience of playing this game, which tends to be pretty vast, he does not hit that 90, which, of course, would be a problem for us if he did. So I'm offering Bogey, Georges Niang, and Kaspers here. Kaspers ultimately is more valuable than the 13th overall pick, which I was offering in the past. And then if I really needed to, I can maybe throw in a guy like AJ Lawson as well. So I don't want to give up a ton in the draft pick department. I would be willing to part with my first next year. And then I'd probably give up one more first because there's really no other players I'd be willing to include. So this hurts, but I would do it. I do think that's a really nice addition. So I'm going to hang on to pretty much everybody else moving forward. Cam Johnson, not, nervous about it, but I do think there's a possibility that we have to upgrade there at some point in time. But as of now, I'm pretty content with this team. I fully expect to be better than we were this season. Of course, we do not have our first heading into the next 2 seasons, so we really don't have any choice but to be better. But Sabonis, obviously now an 89 overall. He went up 1. As crazy as it sounds, I'm almost hoping he, regresses just a bit down to, 88, maybe 87, because I think that would really benefit us. But at this point, we are definitely better. Obviously, our elite depth is still intact, and hopefully this team is in a real playoff spot next year. Now the start of year 2 here in Los Angeles. Our first season was not exactly ideal. We ended up not even making the playoffs. We ultimately had a really good offseason, though, and I think this is a team that will undoubtedly be in the playoffs and hopefully competing for a championship. De'Aaron Fox, Derek White are going to be my backcourt. I think it's a really interesting pairing. I think Derek White fits pretty well with pretty much anybody, but he remains an 88 overall, which is really good news for us. Zachary Riza-Shea, who is up to an 85, will remain my starting small forward. Of course, we still got Cam Johnson and Domantas Sabonis in our front court. So the good news is that Sabonis, went down 1 technically, which again, is probably the best case scenario for us. Bench unit will now be led by Jalen Wells, who's up to an 82 overall, 20 minutes a night as our sixth man. You got Trey Mann behind him, Isaiah Joe in here, Goga Batazde, and finally Taylor Hendricks rounding it out. So I expect this is a playoff team, hopefully competing for a championship. I'll see you guys at the end of our second season. A much better second season here in Los Angeles. 59-23 is the final record, and I am very much hoping that is the 1 seed here in a very good West. Nikola Jokic is a member of the Sacramento Kings. He's your MVP. Cooper Flagg ended up in Memphis, Rookie of the Year. Scottie Pippen Jr. coming off the bench in Portland. Wemby wins another DPOY. Jonathan Mbogo most improved. Anthony Edwards, Clutch Player of the Year. Doug Christie, Coach of the Year. So, yeah, we're not the 1 seed here in the West, but we are probably in the mix. We're the 2 seed. So we're going to be facing either Denver or San Antonio in round 1. We'll find out who that is momentarily. Here's a look. And even in a fantasy draft, the Eastern Conference still blows. Let's talk about some of the stats for this team. Led in scoring by De'Aaron Fox, Zachary Riza-Shea, Domantas Sabonis, Cam Johnson. You got Mann, D. White, Isaiah Joe, Wells, Hendricks, and then Batazde. Led in the rebounding department by Sabonis. Led in assists by also Sabonis. All right. Round 1. It is us in Denver. They got Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell. What? He wasn't here last year. I can tell you that for sure. I'm going to hit you now with a quick follow-up, my friends. How the fuck is this a 7 seed? I understand even in this hypothetical world where the fantasy draft is implemented, the West is still really damn good. I don't give a shit. This is not a 7 seed on any planet that we live on. What? I mean, give me a break, 2K. We're seriously going to beat this team now? Okay, we're up 2-1 at this point in time. Make that 3-1, and I guess I'm just bitching for no reason. How is that a 7 seed? Like, I'm not losing it, am I? Like, that doesn't seem like a 7 seed to anybody else? Let me know. All right, moving on to Golden State here in the Western Conference semifinals. Josh Giddey, Malik Monk, Wiggins. You got Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jalen Duren, Mark Williams, Jacoby Walter in here as well. You know, I don't know if they're a better team than the Denver Nuggets who we just faced, but they're certainly, you know, very talented. So we're 2-2 at this point in time. We go down 3-2, and we get bounced in 6. A disappointing ending to what was overall-wise a pretty promising season. Fox, Riza-Shea, this is just a horrible series scoring-wise. Yeah, man, I'm not thoroughly impressed with anybody. Really brutal series for Sabonis. Okay, well, we are going to enter our final offseason and, you know, really kind of lock in and decide what we need to do with this team, because there's probably 1 or 2 moves that we're going to have to make. LeBron does finally call it a career, and I'm not sure what that move is yet. So we'll obviously sort it out. Let's head into the draft lottery, where we don't think I have any other teams' picks. I know we don't have our own pick. I don't see a Clippers logo anywhere, so cool. Yeah, Lakers have our pick at 28. All right, I'm going to hang on to Ty Lue. The ratings are good. I genuinely believe he's one of the better head coaches in basketball, so he's not going anywhere, even if I have been, you know, somewhat disappointed with the 2 seasons we have had so far. So let me just confirm no draft picks. Well, we have 3 seconds. You know what I might try to do? Let's see if I can maybe trade in to a later first-round pick, like 23. If I just give you all these, will you take it? No? How about a couple more seconds? I'm not giving up anything outside of second-round picks. I agree. All right. Probably the case as it always is. I'll draft somebody. Maybe they're in a trade. Maybe they're not. I have no idea. Dash Daniels. He's Dyson's brother, right? I'm pretty sure. The Australia thing kind of really sold that for me. All right, Riza-Shea, Hendricks, both will be brought back. Now, something I do have to kind of keep an eye on is I know for almost 100% fact that Sabonis and Fox are not going to hit 90s. Riza-Shea is currently 5 overalls away, and that does make me a little nervous, though. So I am going to consider my options there, but at this point, I do think we need to make 1 more upgrade in this starting 5. I'm going to look to add Pascal Siakam to this team. He's kind of the perfect fit. Now, ultimately, he's making almost $50 million, so it's not exactly easy to match up the salaries with Cam Johnson. So we do have to, unfortunately, include Trey Mann in this deal. He's a really elite bench piece for us, but we have a lot of quality depth, and I don't think this would hurt us too much. So Siakam's kind of the perfect fit because of his age and his overall. Pretty much everybody ahead of him is like 26 years old or younger, and they're, although, you know, maybe won't hit 90s, they're like 88 kind of territory, so it makes me a little bit nervous. I do think Siakam, oh, okay, well, that was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. At this point, it's all about deciding on Riza-Shea. Do I think that he is at a spot right now? Now, let me be clear. If the video, for God knows what reason, you know, if Riza-Shea's a 90 by the time next season kicks off, I can still trade. It doesn't mean the challenge is over. It just means he can't be on the team anymore. But if he's a 90, I'll be a little nervous. I'm not going to lie to you. At this point, we do need to find ourselves a backup point guard. I think Tyus Jones makes some sense. He is 30 years old, but he's probably the best option available. So this is the squad entering the final season. I hope it is enough. I am really praying it is. I'll see you guys at the start of the year number 3. It is the final regular season here in Los Angeles. We are feeling pretty good right now. Ultimately, I think we're at the point where this team is obviously not going to hit any 90 overalls. It just makes me a little bit nervous that, like, are we good enough? Like, we're not really teetering on any lines at this point. Like, nobody's really ever going to get close to a 90. But do we have enough star power? I think the obvious answer is yes, but sometimes these things don't always go our way. De'Aaron Fox, Derek White, Zachary Rizer, Pascal Siakam, Domantas Sabonis, bench unit, Jalen Wells, Isaiah Joe, Taylor Hendricks, Goga Batazde, and Tyus Jones. So, unfortunately, the Trey Man trade kind of sucked. I mean, it didn't suck because we added Siakam, but it sucked to lose him, that's for sure. But this bench still has some really quality depth. I don't think it's going to hurt us too much. But it is now or never, my friends. It is championship or bust. I will see you guys at the end of year 3 here in Los Angeles. The final season here is easily our best yet. 68-14 is going to be the final record. And yeah, as I mentioned earlier, it is now or never. Now, Nikola Jokic back-to-back MVPs with the Kings. Cameron Boozer ended up in Houston. He's your rookie of the year. Oh shit, this dude can kind of hoop a little bit. Wemby wins another D-Point. Ace Bailey, most improved. Ant, your clutch player of the year once again. Ty Lue getting that recognition he deserves with 68 wins. So, I don't really have much else to say. Great regular seasons are awesome to see, but unfortunately, it's this time of year that the real kind of grit and grind kind of happens. So there are the numbers across the board. Again, it doesn't really matter to me as long as we win. So first round for first seed for the first time, us in Portland here. Jalen Brunson, Will Riley, AJ DeBansta here. We got Bam Adebayo, Isaiah Jackson. I'm not gonna lie to you, I almost drafted Bam, and I was like, hold on a minute, I think this guy hits a 90. Ball knower over here. They're a good 8 seed. I'll definitely give them that. We are up 2-0 at this point in time, up 3-0. It's a clean sweep. Moving on to the New Orleans Pelicans, who it does. Oh my God. Well, I'm officially nervous. This team. Oh, give me a break. Give me a break. What? Okay, first of all, how do you have money for this? I guess Wemby on the rookie contract, that really helps. Why is Trae Young coming off the bench? Not only that, why is he not winning 6th man of the year? God, I just respect the stupidity of this game sometimes. I don't know if we're better than that New Orleans team. Okay, maybe we are. Between that and the Nuggets series last year, what is going on here with the Clippers? Got to win a championship at this point. There's just no denying it. Lonzo Ball, Malik Monk, Andrew Wiggins, Giannis, Jalen Duren. Again, they beat us last year. I think we're better than the Golden State Warriors. I really do. Well, maybe not. 2-2 right now. That's a big game 5. We win the series in 6. And we are taking on Cade Cunningham and the Cleveland Cavaliers here in the NBA Finals. Technically speaking, they, of course, have the best player because, well, they do have the best player. Cade Cunningham would be the best player in the series, but he's also by far the highest overall. All right, it is officially time to win a championship. Quick 2-0 start for us. Make that 3-0. I'd like to get a little gameplay here today. I know you all enjoy it for God knows what reason, mostly because you like to watch me be tortured. What a very low scoring. This is like a halftime score in today's NBA, and we're at the end of the third. All right, man. I'll see you guys in there. We are very much on the verge of sweeping the Cleveland Cavaliers out of their own building. We're feeling really good at this point. That being said, this game's kind of still within reach, so I got to, focus. Oh, that's a horrible shot on me. That's my bad. I got to kind of focus here a little bit. I can't just completely fuck around because, believe it or not, what is it, a 7-point game? That's certainly, obtainable at this point in time. Why is Rizashay's free throw motion throwing me off so much? Nonetheless, we are up to an 8-point ball game. 66 points with, 3 minutes, 50 seconds left in the fourth quarter is preposterous in the year. What would it be? 2027 at this point? That's just absolutely insane. Good defense there. They do not get the roll. Fox, let's just do the thing. Let's just blow by everybody because you're like one of, if not the fastest players in basketball. And, oh, this is Josh Hart. I don't really like that matchup, but I like Sabonis on the cut to the basket. Gives him his 6th point of the night. At this point, I would typically talk about the team we're rebuilding, but of course, this is a fantasy draft, so, we're not really rebuilding the Clippers. So I guess what we can chat about is just what kind of rebuild challenges you guys looking to see forward. I think there was a couple different requests to do an all-international players challenge. Of course, the NBA is very much an international league at this point. Hell, the majority of the best players in the league are international players, so that's going to be a fun one, very much. I almost feel like in some ways it would be more challenging to do like an all-American player challenge. But yes, I will, of course, definitely do, one of those, both of those, whatever you guys want to see. Just let me know down below. And then, I think I'd like to, at some point, kind of ramp up to maybe 3 off-season rebuilds a week. I think after the first round, I'd like to find a way to do that just because there's so many of them. Obviously, we're going to have the draft rebuilds too. There's going to be a draft lottery momentarily. So there's going to be a lot of kind of off-season quote-unquote rebuilds very shortly. And then, of course, before we know it, it's going to be actual off-season time. So I think we're in a really good spot right now in terms of, videos available. Sometimes, mid-NBA season kind of hit a dead point. I think we did a good job of kind of avoiding that this year because, that's never really fun for anybody. So a lot of videos on the horizon. Looking forward to a great summer with all of you once again. And, of course, the NBA is a league full of drama and full of trades. So I'm assuming we'll get at least one kind of major blockbuster this summer that nobody was expecting. But we're going to win a championship here. I'll see you guys for the Finals MVP. A clean sweep of the Cleveland Cavaliers gives us our championship here in Los Angeles, and they give Domantas Sabonis Finals MVP. So, feeling great, man. That is obviously a fantastic way to cap this one off. I've gotten some requests in the past to do a no 85 overall, or no 85 plus overall challenge. I think I tried it once. I think it went absolutely horribly. I just don't think it's possible, quite honestly. So, I mean, I could give that a go if you guys really wanted to see it. That almost feels like one that would be kind of more fun to do like in like a live stream kind of sense, but we'll see. So I had fun with this one though. It was a tactical kind of video, deciding which players to draft, which players to trade for, and ultimately we came out with a successful result. So I hope you guys enjoyed. That'll do it for me. As always, thanks so much for watching. I love you guys. I'll catch you guys all in the next one.